Hey, what's going on? Appreciate you clicking on the video. I'm bringing back something that I used to do a lot more of, but felt like I wanted to bring it back because I do have a lot of fun doing these. I'll probably do maybe even some more, especially this week as we are leading up to the NFL season kicking off next Thursday. Or I guess, yeah, next Thursday. It's like 6 days away. But gonna do a tier list. Like I said, used to do a lot more of these. Haven't done one in a while, but I was looking around and I was like, why not do one today? This one's going to be the quarterback position. And I've established some tiers that I'm going to rank these quarterbacks in. This tier list that I have has more than just the starters on it, which I do like. I'll do little quick hitters for certain guys, maybe all of them. Don't want to make this video too long. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. Here's the tiers. All right. So because they have so many quarterbacks on here, it doesn't fit necessarily all on one screen. But you got top tier. It's like top of the mountain, your elite quarterback. Knocking on the door are guys who I feel like are obviously a step down. If they were to make a Super Bowl, maybe get a Super Bowl win or a really good season with a deep playoff run, I slot them in there, and they can. And they, they're guys that with a season like that possibly could enter that VIP top tier room. Right track will be guys obviously just below that who maybe had a good season last year. I would like to see maybe another season from them before necessarily going up to the second level. But they're not terrible quarterbacks. They're still really good quarterbacks. They just may not have the resume yet to move up. Solid are guys who, you can win with them. You could maybe win a division. You could win maybe a playoff game. But I don't know if you can necessarily win the whole thing with that quarterback. Or you might see some young quarterbacks in that group who are coming off of a solid season. But once again, the resume isn't there yet to move them up any higher. On the hook are quarterbacks who are going to be starters, yes, in the beginning of the season. But if they make enough mistakes, I could easily see them being pulled and losing their starting job. Backups are your backup quarterbacks who, yeah, they're just backups. Some guys in there will probably be like your spot starter, but wouldn't necessarily be somebody that I think would, like take over and be a really good quarterback. Somebody who could potentially be like a Super Bowl winner. I don't know if that's that type of guy. Hey, you're on a team. You're not a good starter. As a backup, I feel like the team could probably do better than you, but you're on a team. Can't be mad at that. And then rookie unproven, it's kind of speaks for itself. It's hard to really peg rookies who haven't done anything in the league yet. So that's where they'll go. All right. We'll just start from the top here and just work our way through. So I will be looking off the screen to see much bigger, but you guys got it right there. Mariota, he's a backup. Like if he starts a couple of games for you, you feel like you're okay, but he's not going to wow you to the point where you feel like you need to turn the keys over to him. Plus, he's a veteran, he's been around for a little bit. I feel like we know what he is. So at this point, I think he's a backup quarterback. Herbert, I'll put Herbert as a solid quarterback. And I think that some people have him as like a top 5 guy. I think he's solid right now, only because he's still pretty young. I will put some of that on previous coaching as to why I don't have him a little bit higher, at least for this. But he's obviously a guy that has all the talent in the world. I kind of want to see how it works with Harbaugh, Harbaugh's coaching staff, like their new system. And also the pieces around him aren't necessarily great. So I'm going to put him at solid right now. I may change that by the end of the video, to be honest with you. But Jordan Love, I'm going to put him on the right track. Great season last year after sitting several years behind Aaron Rodgers, but he burst on the scene last year. I'm expecting a lot more from him this year. So I think he's definitely on the right track, trending upward. Drake May, he's a rookie. So he's unproven. Going to start off as the backup, but I know, or at least the expectation is, at some point this year, he will be thrown into the starting role, and I'm kind of excited to see it. Davis Mills, I mean, he's kind of unproven. I mean, he's a backup, right? He's had some moments as a starter. I don't think he's like all that, skilled, but he does have some experience. I feel like if you turn it over to him, he'll win you some and lose you some. He's just a backup. Bo Nix is another rookie who is actually going to start. So I'm excited to see what Sean Payton does with him, especially since Sean Payton obviously wanted him. He's looked good in the preseason. I'm excited to see what he does during the regular season. Jimmy Garoppolo was a backup. I feel like he's had his time. He's had his opportunities to be a starter in this league. It seems like whenever he does, he either gets hurt or his play is a little inconsistent. But I do think he's a solid backup because he's a guy like game or two, you'll be fine. It's once he starts playing regularly is where he kind of gets exposed. So I got him as a backup. Mason Rudolph, same thing. I think it's a good pickup from Tennessee, making him the backup. He has a lot of experience. He's got some experience, starting as well. So I think he's a good backup. Trubisky, who I'm not sure Trubisky's still on a roster. He might have been released. I'd have to look that up, but backup. Obviously, the start of his career probably hampered his development being drafted so high, but I feel like we've seen enough now to know he's just a backup quarterback, and that's fine. Aiden O'Connell. It's kind of unproven. Was this his second year? And he's going to be the backup to Minshew, who we'll get to here in a little bit on this list. But yeah, I can't really slot him anywhere else because I don't know if he's a terrible quarterback. I don't know if he's a good quarterback. I don't know if he's a, above average type of guy. Haven't seen enough of him, so stick him in unproven at this point. Purdy. So Purdy, I feel like you could put here. I think some may put him knocking on the door. No, I might do knocking on the door because he has been to a Super Bowl. He's been to a couple of NFC title games. Going into this year, there's a lot of hype around them. Somewhat, obviously, Trent Williams' contract situation has to be solved first. But for a guy that's Mr. Irrelevant, what he's accomplished, he's in the right system. He has the right coaching right now. If you're going to tell me the Niners were able to get to a Super Bowl and win one this year, I think Purdy's one of those quarterbacks. I wouldn't say if he just won one, he'd be in that top tier VIP group. But I think he would solidify himself as a second level kind of guy. So I'm going to put him there now based off what he's done with the expectations that he had coming into it. This one might be a point of contention for some of you. Obviously, let me know in the comments where you would put him, but I'm going to put him there for right now. Sam Darnold is he's a backup. I do wonder if J.J. McCarthy did not go down with the knee injury, would Darnold be the starting quarterback week one? I do think it was kind of trending to McCarthy probably being able to start week one, but Darnold did look all right in the preseason as well. I think he's a backup. I honestly couldn't tell you who his backup is now that McCarthy's out for the season. Because otherwise, I mean, if McCarthy was healthy and Darnold was starting, Darnold would be on the hook. But only because I don't know who his backup is. He's probably going to start, but he should be a backup quarterback. Tommy DeVito. I mean, can you put him as unproven? I don't know if I want to disrespect him and say, hey, you're on a team. Let's say backup. That might be generous. But I mean, he had some moments last year. I can't take that away from him. So I'm gonna stick him as a backup. Joe Flacco, who is backing up Anthony Richardson. I'm actually put Joe Flacco here. Like what he did last year as the backup, he came in, won games, got into the playoffs. Now, even though he's a backup, I think he's more of a backup. I think he's a guy who would spot start if Richardson were to get hurt or was like completely ineffective. I think if you put Flacco in, he would be a solid quarterback. So I think he kind of breaks the mold as a backup that I don't just automatically slot as a backup in the backup tier. I think Flacco still has some good performances in his right arm. So I'm gonna put Flacco as a solid quarterback. Mahomes, obviously, like this top tier was made for him. Multi-time champion, best quarterback in the league. Like, no more needs to be said. Minshew now. I think Minshew's solid. He's kind of a actually no. I think for Minshew, put him on the hook. Put him on the hook. Yeah, that makes more sense. I do think he's a good quarterback. He's just one of those guys. If he plays too long, he kind of gets exposed for some of his shortcomings. But I think Darnold's kind of the same, but I put Darnold as a backup only because I have more faith in Minshew. If you had to start him over a longer period of time, of Minshew being more competitive, more consistent than, say, a Sam Darnold. So I'm putting Minshew on the hook. I know I have Aiden O'Connell as unproven. I think Minshew would be on a bit of a longer leash than probably some would be in that group, but I'm going to put him there. I feel like that's where, he deserves to be. Jared Goff, I think he's a solid quarterback. He had some rough years towards the end there in LA. Since he's gone to Detroit, he's played really well. He seems like he's with the right kind of team. Only because I do think he is a bit limited kind of in his physical abilities. I don't know if I'd put him any higher than just a solid quarterback. And once again, being a solid quarterback means you do win. It's just that, even like the Lions, who are supposed to be really good this year, if the Lions made a Super Bowl, you feel like it'd be other factors other than Jared Goff like going off and having a really great season, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna put Goff solid. Trevor Lawrence. This might be another point of contention. I think Trevor Lawrence is on the hook for this case only. I think the way last season went, the way it kind of ended, at least to me, not saying that you have to feel the same way or anything like that. I feel like there's reason to question, is he overhyped, overrated? Was last year just a fluke? Is this like the beginning of maybe the, not necessarily the end of him, but this is an important season for him. And they brought in Mac Jones, who had his own struggles in New England. But I think for Doug Peterson in Jacksonville, they kind of feel like Mac Jones has some talent. And if Lawrence continues like the turnover issues and all that, if they were to turn to Mac Jones, I think they feel like they would be okay. I think if you look at Trevor Lawrence at Clemson, he should be much higher up on a different tier. But I feel like he hasn't necessarily gotten to that point in his NFL career yet. So I'm putting it on the hook. Like I said, some of you might think that's disrespectful, but I'm just saying. Josh Allen. It's kind of tough with Josh Allen. let's say right track, I guess. I feel like a couple of years ago, I would have put him knocking on the door. I do think that this is a big season for him as well. They've taken away Stephon Diggs. The wide receiver position isn't necessarily stacked with big names. So if Josh Allen can elevate his game, limit the turnovers, limit the risky play, and get a Buffalo team, as a division winner or a playoff team or something like that, and you can definitely look at it and see his major fingerprint on the team, I think I would move him back up to knocking on the door. I just had to knock him down just a little bit because I haven't really been impressed with him, especially coming off of last season. So I'm going to put Josh Allen right track. Although, like Jordan Love, I feel like is trending up. I think Josh Allen's kind of not flatlined, but plateaued, I'd say. Just right now. He could obviously improve upon that. I might do another one of these like mid-season or something like that. Kirk Cousins, I think, is a solid quarterback. Like, you know what you're going to get from him. He'll make some plays. He'll maybe frustrate you a couple of primetime slots, but you can win with him. Now, once you get to the postseason, kind of up in the air, but especially with Atlanta based on what they had before him, yeah, definite upgrade. I think Cousins is a solid quarterback in this league. Caleb Williams is, rookie. He's unproven. Yeah. I'm expecting big things out of him. So, yeah. Like, once he gets mid-season, like I said, once I do a mid-season one, or maybe end of the season one, I would know more about him, but I can't necessarily project what I haven't seen yet. And like I said, it's the rookie category. He's a rookie. Very simple. Desmond Ridder. You're on a team. Well, actually, I don't even think he is. I think the Cardinals released him after just acquiring him. I don't think he's signed anywhere else yet. But I feel like I've seen enough of him as a starter to know he's probably never going to be a top tier guy. I don't think he's a quality backup necessarily. So I think for right now, sitting here today, if he gets signed, I'll be like, okay, you're holding a clipboard. Cool. And for that team, probably hope to never see you necessarily on the field, like throwing a pass in like a high leverage type of situation. No. Like, you're coming in garbage time? Cool. Jalen Hurts. He's kind of like Josh Allen, but Hurts has been to a Super Bowl. So I think I have to put that over Josh Allen. I'm saying knocking on the door. But unlike Purdy, I think Purdy's trending up. I think Jalen Hurts come off of last year, the way that his season ended, trending down in this group. So another rough season, especially another rough like finish to the season, I'd probably knock him down. But yeah, I feel like he's definitely a talented guy. It's just like his issues against the blitz is obviously something that he's going to have to work through and get better at. But I can't sit here and say that he's not a really good quarterback in this league, especially as a dual threat guy. I'm expecting him to bounce back, so I'll put him knocking on the door. Kyler Murray. If you want to talk about a guy that's really hard to slot into one of these tiers, oh boy. Let's go solid, I guess. Talent-wise, he probably should be higher than this. The questions, I guess, in terms of his preparation and everything like that is probably why I have him here. But it's hard to deny necessarily the wow factor he does display at times on the field. He's just not consistent with it. Once again, I think it's a situation where I couldn't tell you who their backup was. Is it like Clayton Tune or something like that? So I don't think it's really a real threat to his job, which is why I don't put him on the hook. But I can't say he's on the right track either. So I think solid is the right place to put him. Tua, solid. We've seen kind of especially last season, inability to play colder weather. He did just get paid. Now with a rising pressure and expectation that comes with that big contract, can Tua elevate his game to get onto the right track? Or does he disappoint? And maybe some of those Dolphins fans who maybe weren't sold on him or other NFL fans may look at it and say, see, the money is a bit too much. I do think Tua, especially in that offense with Waddle and Hill, he'll put up numbers. The question is going to be once we get to November and December, and if they're fortunate enough to make the playoffs January, what kind of guy is Tua? So I think he's a solid quarterback. All right, we got Russ and Fields right next to each other, and I feel like that this is if I kind of put both of them here, because Russ is going to start to begin with. I feel like the first sense that he struggles, they're going to put Fields in. But if you're Justin Fields, if that does happen, don't think the job is necessarily yours. Because I could very well see if 2 or 3 weeks later, Fields is struggling, they just go right back to Russ. So I think both of them, they're on the same team. They're completely linked together as Pittsburgh went out and got both of them from the outside, brought them in, hoping to help reestablish their careers. I think they're both on the hook. Derek Carr. Yeah. This category is made for Derek Carr. I honestly don't know what to make of him. I do think he's struggled mightily. Part of that is maybe the situation he's in. New Orleans is in a bad way in terms of contracts and all that. Aging players on that team, they could probably use an infusion of some youth. Problem is, Carr's not the youngest either. And you have Jake Hayner, you got Spencer Rattler sitting behind him. I feel like Saints fans, the first sign of Derek Carr, holding the ball, taking sacks and all this kind of stuff, I think the boos may start raining down. There's going to be pressure on Dennis Allen to make a switch. So, yeah, Derek Carr is definitely squarely on the hook. All right, Dak Prescott. I think Dak is a solid quarterback. I don't think he's another guy that probably needs a few more playoff wins under his belt. He only has 2. And some of the ways that he's lost playoff games have been in the most outrageous fashion. But he puts up numbers. He does give you the feeling that you can win. It's just there's always like a moment or two in big games, playoff games, that he does seem to come up short. But I'm not going to say like he's some scrub or something, because the numbers are there. He is effective. It's just I still have a lot of questions of whether or not you can actually win a championship with him as your starter. But I do think that he's a solid quarterback. Deshaun Watson. This is a guy who should be up here. All the talent in the world. He dual threat, throw, run, all that. Put up big numbers in Houston when the team was horrible. But based off the past couple of years in Cleveland, you could put him here. Because he looks like a guy that either doesn't love football or doesn't know how to play football. But I'm gonna be honest and say I'll put him on the hook. And for, like I said, for the player that Deshaun Watson should be, this right here should ruffle or be a point of contention with some of you. I doubt it will be because Watson just has not been it. He just hasn't. And I challenge any of you to argue with me why Watson should be anywhere else but on the hook. I would love to hear from you. But yeah, on the hook. Zach Wilson, I think you're a backup. Yeah. Like, even though Bo Nix is a rookie, unproven, he's gonna start. I still would think that he's a better option than Zach Wilson. I do think Zach Wilson getting out of New York, getting into a system in Denver where they do have I'm blanking on their wide receivers for some reason, but they have guys there that if the pieces around the quarterback are healthy, Denver could be pretty good. Okay, they could be improved, but yeah, Zach Wilson. I'm tempted to put you in unproven, but I think at this point I could say you're a backup. Okay, so this does say Bailey Zappi. It probably should be Jacoby Brissett, who's going to start for the Patriots, who I would put on the hook. But since it is Bailey Zappi, I think Bailey Zappi could be a backup in this league. I really do. He's currently available. I haven't seen anything about him signing anywhere. He may end up back in New England with as like a practice squad player or something like that. But I think he's a backup. Jaden Daniels is a rookie. Yeah, so nothing really needs to be said. Anthony Richardson got hurt last year. So this is basically like a rookie season for him. I'm going to put unproven. Winston. So Jameis Winston, who's actually Deshaun Watson's backup, he's kind of in the same situation as Fields and Wilson, sorry. Watson and Winston. Yeah. You guys are definitely on the hook for sure. Sam Howell is backing up Geno Smith in Seattle. So I feel like Sam Howell can be more than a backup. I'll put him on the hook as well. I think if he does get an opportunity, I would expect him to perform well. But I don't think he has any, reputation necessarily that you should put like all your belief behind him if you have him under center. I still think he does have some things to prove. But I mean, last year with Washington, for a good part of the season, he was your leading passing yards. He was your passing yards leader in the NFL. And then the wheels kind of fell off at the end of the season. But I think that's kind of where he should be. Baker Mayfield. I think Baker's a solid quarterback. I feel like you know what you're going to get from him. You're going to get some highs, some lows. What works in his favor, it does seem like when he's on a team, guys like playing for him. And I feel like that does elevate his game. Seems like he plays really well off of emotion. And, you kind of have to let him be a little bit out there. He's going to improvise a little bit. You kind of just have to live with it. I do think, he was drafted at 1 overall. Looking back on that, it's probably a mistake. But I think he's a solid quarterback. I feel like he's a starting quarterback in this league. I do. Kenny Pickett. Let's see. Yeah, I think Kenny Pickett's a backup. I feel like there were some questions coming out of Pittsburgh about him in college. Then he gets to Pittsburgh, the Steelers. Wasn't that impressive, and I don't see any reason to think he's gonna necessarily be any more than that. So I think he's a backup, and he's a guy that you hope you don't have to necessarily see for an extended period of time, because that usually means your starter, your real starter, has some significant injury, and you'd probably be hoping to just tread water until your starter comes back. So I think Kenny Pickett is a backup. Geno Smith, yeah, he's on the hook at this point. Like if he's going well, you let it play out. If he starts struggling, you can't leave him out there too long. Otherwise, you may start losing, too many games in a row, and you find yourself out of a playoff race or out of contention, we'll say. And I think with Sam Howell there, those two, once again, kind of work hand in hand with each other. So Geno Smith, backup. CJ Stroud. I'm going to put CJ Stroud on the right track. Good, no, not just good. A great season last year. They made the playoffs. They lost to the Ravens in the divisional round. Yeah, the divisional round. I think coming into this year, Houston has done a lot of great things around him. I feel like the expectation is them to take another step forward. So, yeah, I think CJ Stroud has definitely done really well for himself early on in his career. Lamar Jackson, I'm going to put him knocking on the door. He's got 2 MVPs, which helps him get into this category. But now that he is there, I need to see him make a deep playoff run before I even entertain him moving up. And I probably need to see a couple. So, I mean, if this year make the AFC title game, he actually plays well, unlike last year where he wasn't that good against Kansas City. If he plays well, fine. Keep him here. Make the Super Bowl, cool. You're trending, but you're still here. So I think Lamar Jackson knocking on the door. Daniel Jones. He's lucky he's on the team that he's on. He's on the hook. I don't know what's going on there. I mean, I kind of do. He was drafted. It was a reach, taking him where they did. It's a reach. The fact that isn't he making like 50-something million this year or something like that? Reach. Do I think his career is salvageable? Maybe, but I feel like with each passing day, I feel less and less optimistic that he might just be what he is at this point. So, yeah, but with that, you'd have to put him on the hook. I mean, Tommy DeVito got some experience last year, showed he could win a game or two. I think going into this year, Daniel Jones is, short leash. I feel like the Giants are looking for any way out at this point. So, Will Levis, second year. Okay. I don't want to necessarily, like, I guess go crazy and maybe overrate him a little bit. Let's put him Let's go solid. Let's go solid. Yeah. Like I said, he's an interesting case study. Second year. He did get some experience last year, which I do think helps a lot this year. Tennessee's also made some moves in the offseason, which I think helps him a lot this year. To be honest with you, I was a bit tempted to move him up a level, but I think this is a good place to put him. Because I just think he's a solid quarterback right now with the opportunity to move up. Because now this is first year. He had an offseason knowing he's going to be the starting quarterback. I feel like the preparation is different that way. I want to see what he does with that. How does he come out? First 4 weeks, how does he look? Like I said, if I do a midseason one or a late season one, my expectation is he's on a level higher than this. But I think to start out, I'm gonna put him in the solid category. Aaron Rodgers. So back in the day, some of y'all probably had him here. No. Some of y'all may even think he's still here. No. Solid. It's solid, right? I mean, he has to play more than 4 games. 4 plays this season. Obviously, that's number one. I may have painted myself into a corner with this one. You know what? I'll put him here. I'll put him here. I'll put him here. Obviously, if he's right, if he's healthy, the Jets should be a Super Bowl contender. Should be. I've also seen Aaron Rodgers get a good position in the playoffs and play down, lose a game. So I don't think, even though Rodgers has been around forever, I don't think he's at a point in his career now that you should be overly optimistic in terms of his play, especially in the playoffs. I know Jets fans think he's going to be that difference maker for them to get them to a Super Bowl. I've never been necessarily an Aaron Rodgers guy. I'm even less so of one now. So I'm going to put him right track. But he, unlike, Stroud, Love, and even Allen, I think those guys are trending up. I think Aaron Rodgers is trending kind of down. I'm not bought in on him. JJ McCarthy is a rookie who's unfortunately hurt for the year. I would have liked to see what he would have done in the regular season, but we don't know. Michael Penix is a rookie. Joe Burrow. Knocking on the door, missed seeing him. Well, not missed seeing him, but he probably had an opportunity last year if he stayed healthy. Cincinnati maybe could have done some things in the playoffs. He had the wrist injury. Want to see, if he's completely healed from that. Is it a type of injury that maybe he has lasting effects from? Have they fixed the O-line enough that, he doesn't take unnecessary hits? The stuff that's going on around him, Joe Mixon's now down in Houston. Boyd is in Tennessee. Higgins wants out, wants a new deal. Chase wants a new deal. Is everything starting to crumble around Joe Burrow? And that will probably affect his play, but I know what I've seen from him. He's a guy who's gone toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. He's a guy who go on the road in the playoffs and, there's no drop-off for him. So I definitely think he is knocking on the door. And in that group, he's probably knocking on the door the loudest of those 4. Stafford, because of his age, I'm gonna put him as a solid quarterback. I don't think he's gonna be around that much longer, but he's pretty effective. I gotta be careful how I say this. He's Dak Prescott necessarily. He'll put up numbers in the regular season. He's unlike Dak in that I think Stafford in the playoffs is a better performer. Like I said, the injury history, he had the neck fusion surgery, his age. I think at this point, he's just a solid quarterback. A few years ago, yeah, he was on a higher category, but now I'm going to have him as just solid. Bryce Young. he's unproven. He's not a rookie. It's his second year, but he's in Carolina. A lot of issues in Carolina. So I can't even say you could even rate him all that well. He's incomplete. And because of that, I have him as unproven. So yeah, there you go. It's my tier list. Might have been a bit long-winded in some cases, but had a lot of fun doing it. So if you made it all the way through the video, I need you to leave a comment to let me know you did. So I know you're a real one. But yeah, let me know what you think about the tier list. Who do you think I'm sleeping on? Who do you think I maybe have overrated, misplaced, whatever? Let me know. To be honest with you, before I get out of here, I might have to slot him there. I'm gonna leave him there. Herbert, this whole video since I put him in solid, I think he's in the right track. I think the talent's there. I'm gonna give him the bump because of the new coaching staff. I mean, the weapons around him have eroded at this point, but I still think Herbert is a really good quarterback. So he's on the right track. But there you go. There you have it. I'm done with it. Not moving anybody else. So appreciate you for tuning in. Like I said, leave a comment if you made it all the way through. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out my other stuff. I know it's been a while since I've actually done a video, but I'm in football mode, so expect to see a lot more of these. I'm going to try to get back to some lives as well, whether it's live episodes or play-by-plays. They're coming back, so you'll probably see a lot more content from me going forward. Sorry about that. So yeah, if there's another tier list you'd like to see me do, you can leave that in the comments as well. I might do one necessarily. I think I'll do one on the teams and where I have them in terms of wins. Probably early next week. Expect to see that. But yeah. So thanks again. Appreciate you. All the socials are there, so make sure you follow me on the ones that you like to use. I'm on Tumblr. You'll see that in my profile. Make sure you go there. Just did an article earlier about storylines in the NFL. Check that out. I'm sure you'll enjoy that as well. A lot to say. We'll be on Integrity Sports Network later on today for Passion and Precision. Be around 8 o'clock, where we will talk more NFL as we get ready for the start of the season. So yeah, I think that's everything. But anything else, I'll remember it in the next video. So be safe. God bless. And I'll catch you next video. All right. I'm out of here. And I will see you later on Integrity Sports Network, 8 o'clock. Make sure you follow me there. All right.